That was the night I became Mark's wife. That was the night I knew I made a mistake. My name is Anna. I am 27 years old. I live in Washington. Today I am married, but I do not feel like a wife. I do not feel like myself. My new home is clean and quiet. The walls are white. The kitchen is small. The windows are big. But the house feels like a box. I walk from room to room, and I feel nothing. Mark is my husband. He is 34. He is kind. He smiles a lot. He brings me tea in the morning. He tells me I look pretty. He gives me small gifts. He tries to make me happy, but I do not feel love for him. I never did. We met 6 months ago. That day, I was sitting at the bus stop. My phone was broken. I was late for work. A man walked by and dropped his wallet. I picked it up and called him. "Hey, your wallet," I said. He smiled and said, "Thank you." That was Mark. He sat beside me. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was late. He said, "Don't worry. Some days are hard." I gave a small laugh. He looked at me like he wanted to know more. I was not ready for more, but I said thank you again. That night he sent me a message. I did not know how he got my number, but I did not ask. He said, "It was nice to meet you today." I did not reply. The next day, I saw him again near the same bus stop. He gave me a coffee and said, "I hope today is better." I took the coffee. He smiled and walked away. I stood there for a long time. The coffee was warm. I was not. At that time, I was not okay. A man named Jacob had left me. I loved him. He was not kind, but I loved him. He made me feel weak. He never listened. He never stayed. But I wanted him. When he left, I cried every night. I missed him. I felt small. My friends said, "He is not good for you." But my heart was slow to understand. Mark started talking to me more. He waited for me near the bus stop. He asked me to take a walk. He told me funny stories. I listened. I smiled. I felt safe with him. He never made me feel small. He looked at me with soft eyes. He said, "You are strong." I wanted to believe him. After 2 weeks, he asked me to go with him to dinner. I said yes. I did not want to sit alone again. He talked the whole time. He asked questions about me. I told him a little. I did not feel love, but I felt calm. When he dropped me at home, he said, "I hope to see you again." I said, "Maybe." Soon he called every day. He sent good morning messages. He brought flowers. He waited outside my building. One day he said, "You are special to me." I looked at him and smiled, but I did not know what to say. I felt nothing in my heart, but I said thank you. 1 month later, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I did not feel ready. I still thought about Jacob, but I said yes. I told myself, maybe this time it will work. Maybe love will come later. He was a good man. Everyone liked him. I wanted to feel something too. We spent more time together. We went to parks. We ate ice cream. We watched movies. He laughed. He held my hand. He looked at me with love. I smiled back. I said the right words. But inside, I felt like I was acting. Every hug felt cold. Every kiss felt wrong. But I stayed. One evening, he took me to a small lake. The sun was low. The sky was pink and blue. He looked nervous. He held my hands. He said, "Anna, I love you. Will you marry me?" I froze. I looked at him. He looked so happy. He was waiting for my answer. I did not want to say yes, but I did not want to hurt him. So I said, "Okay." His face was full of light. He hugged me. He kissed me. He said, "You made me the happiest man." I smiled, but my heart was quiet. That night, I sat on my bed and looked at the ring. It was small and shiny. I wanted to cry, but no tears came. We got married quickly. He wanted a small wedding. I said yes to everything. I wore a white dress. My sister helped me. She said, "You look beautiful." I said, "Thank you." She asked, "Are you happy?" I smiled and said yes, but I was not. After the wedding, we came home. The house was full of flowers. He cooked pasta. He said, "This is our new life." I looked at the food. I felt sick. He asked, "Do you like it?" I said yes, but I wanted to be alone. Every day he did something kind. He made tea. He folded my clothes. He cleaned the dishes. He kissed my head and said, "I love you." I smiled. I said the words back, but I felt like a ghost. One day he came home with movie tickets. "Let's go out," he said. I said okay. We watched a funny movie. He laughed a lot. He held my hand. He looked at me and said, "I am happy." I smiled, but I felt far away. That night he asked, "Do you feel happy, Anna?" I looked at him. His eyes were soft. I said, "I don't know." He was quiet. Then he said, "I will wait. I love you." I felt pain in my chest. He was good. He was patient. But I did not love him. I never did. And now I was his wife. And I was living a lie. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next morning, Mark made eggs and bread. He gave me a plate and said, "Good morning, my love." I sat at the table and looked at the food. I smiled. I said thank you, but I did not want to eat. I was not hungry. He sat with me. He talked about work. He talked about the weekend. I listened. I said small things. I said yes and okay. I looked at his face. He looked happy, but I was not happy. I was quiet. I was tired. I went to work. I sat at my desk. I looked at the screen. My hands did not move. I could not think. My friend Lucy came to me. She said, "Anna, are you okay?" I said yes, but I was not okay. I wanted to cry, but I did not cry. I stayed quiet all day. When I went home, Mark was in the kitchen. He said, "I made pasta for you." I said, "Thank you." I sat down. I ate a little. He smiled at me. He said, "Did you have a good day?" I said yes, but it was not true. That night he held my hand. He kissed my cheek. He said, "I love you." I said, "I love you too." But I did not feel the words. My mouth said the words, but my heart said nothing. I looked at the wall. I wanted to be alone. I wanted to sleep in another room, but I stayed there beside him. I closed my eyes and waited for sleep. The next few days were the same. Mark was good to me. He helped me. He made me tea. He washed my clothes. He cleaned the floor. He smiled. He called me his wife. I smiled too. I tried to be good. I said thank you. I made him dinner one night. He was happy. He said, "This is so nice." "Thank you, Anna." I looked at him and smiled, but inside I felt nothing. I felt cold. I felt like I was not in my life. One Sunday, Mark said, "Let's go to the park." I said, "Okay." We walked to the park near the house. The sun was warm. Children played. Dogs ran. People laughed. Mark held my hand. I looked at the sky. I did not want to be there. I wanted to go home. He said, "Are you happy today?" I looked at him. I said yes, but it was not true. We sat on a bench. He talked about the future. He said, "Maybe we can buy a house." I looked at him. I said nothing. He said, "Do you want a baby?" I felt cold. I looked down at my hands. I said, "Not now." He said, "Okay, I understand." But I saw his face. He was sad. That night I sat in bed. I looked at the ring on my finger. I wanted to take it off. I wanted to leave, but I did not move. I stayed in the bed. I stayed in the house. I stayed in the life I did not want. In the morning, I went to the shop to buy milk. I saw a woman with a baby. The baby smiled. The woman smiled. I looked at them. I felt pain. I walked fast. I wanted to go home. I opened the door. Mark said, "Hi, Anna. I was waiting for you." I said, "I went to the shop." He said, "I missed you." I looked at him. I did not speak. One night I sat on the couch. Mark sat next to me. He said, "You are very quiet these days." I said, "I am just tired." He said, "Do you want to talk?" I said no. He looked at me. He said, "Please talk to me." I said, "I don't know what to say." He was silent. I looked at the floor. He said, "Do you still love me?" I did not answer. I could not lie again. He stood up and went to the bedroom. I sat there for a long time. The room was dark. The light was off. I looked at the door. I wanted to run, but I stayed. I thought about my life. I thought about the day I said yes. I said yes because I was sad. I said yes because I did not want to be alone. But now I was not happy. I was not free. The next day, I woke up early. I made coffee. Mark came to the kitchen. He said, "Good morning." I said, "Morning." We sat in silence. We drank coffee. He said, "Anna, I want to help you. I want to understand you." I looked at him. I said, "You are a good man, but I do not feel love." His face changed. He did not speak. I said yes because I was hurt. I did not know what to do. I thought love would come, but it did not. Mark looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "Thank you for telling me." I looked away. I did not want to cry, but my eyes were full of tears. He said, "I need to think." I said, "Okay." He stood up and walked to the other room. That night we did not eat dinner together. He sat in the bedroom. I sat on the couch. I looked at the wall. The house was quiet. My heart was full of noise. I felt bad. I felt sad. But I also felt a little free. I told the truth. I did not lie again. I was still in the house, but I was not hiding. The next morning, Mark said, "Do you want to take some time? You can go to your sister's place if you want." I said, "Yes, that is a good idea." He said, "You can take your things. Stay there for a while." I packed my bag. I took my clothes and my phone. I did not take much. I stood at the door. He said, "Anna, I still care about you." I said, "I know. Thank you." I left the house. I walked to the bus stop. The air was cold. I felt the wind on my face. I sat on the bench and waited. I looked at the sky. I did not smile, but I did not cry. I felt quiet. I felt calm. I went to my sister's house. She opened the door and said, "Anna?" I said, "Can I stay here?" She said yes. I sat on her couch. She gave me tea. She did not ask many questions. She let me rest. I closed my eyes. For the first time in many weeks, I slept. I stayed at my sister's house for many days. She gave me a small room. It had a bed and a table. There was a window, and I could see the street from it. I woke up early every morning. I helped her with small things. I washed dishes. I cleaned the floor. I made tea. I did not talk much. I was quiet. She did not ask many questions. She said, "Rest, Anna. You need time." I said, "Thank you." At night, I could not sleep. I looked at the ceiling. I listened to the sounds outside. I thought about my life. I thought about Mark. I asked myself many questions. Why did I say yes? Why did I marry him? Did I try enough? Was I wrong? I had no answers. My heart felt heavy. One day, I went for a walk. The sky was gray. The wind was soft. I walked to the park near the house. I saw people with dogs. I saw children on swings. I sat on a bench. I watched the trees. I felt a little better. The air was fresh. I could think clearly. I said in my mind, I cannot go back to that house. It is not my home. Later, I got a message from Mark. He said, "I hope you are okay. I am thinking about you." I looked at the message for a long time. I wanted to reply, but I did not know what to say. I put down the phone. I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. 2 days later, I called Mark. I said, "Can we meet?" He said yes. We met at a small cafe. It was quiet inside. I sat at a table. He came a few minutes later. He looked tired. I looked at him. He said, "Hi, Anna." I said, "Hi." We did not talk for a minute. Then I said, "Thank you for meeting me." He said, "Of course." I looked down at my hands. I said, "I wanted to talk in person." He said, "Okay." He said, "You are a good man. You were kind to me. You did everything right. But I do not feel love. I do not want to hurt you, but I must be honest." He looked at me. His eyes were full of pain. He said, "I know. I saw it. I hoped you would feel love one day. But now I understand." I felt tears in my eyes. I said, "I am sorry." He said, "You don't have to say sorry. You did not lie to hurt me. You just wanted to feel better. I can see that." We sat in silence. The cafe was still quiet. I heard a spoon hit a cup. I looked at Mark. He said, "So, what will you do now?" I said, "I will find a new place to stay. I will work. I will start again." He said, "I think that is good." I said, "Will you be okay?" He smiled a little and said, "I don't know, but I will try." We stood up. He said, "Take care, Anna." I said, "You too, Mark." He walked away. I watched him go. I felt very sad, but I also felt free. I went back to my sister's place. I told her everything. She said, "You were brave. You told the truth." I said, "But I feel bad." She said, "Yes, but you also feel strong now. I said, a little. A few weeks later, I found a small room to rent. It was near a park. The room had one bed, one chair, and one window. I liked it. I put a small lamp near the bed. I bought a blue curtain. I made the room mine. I felt quiet there. I felt safe. I started going for walks every morning. I watched birds in the trees. I looked at people walking. I saw life around me. It helped me feel better. I started to smile again. I started to sleep better. One day, I saw Mark at the store. He was buying food. I was near the fruit section. We looked at each other. We both smiled a little. He said, "Hi." I said, "Hi." He said, "How are you?" I said, "I am okay." He said, "That's good." Then we both said goodbye. It was not hard. It was not painful. It was quiet and soft. I walked out of the store and looked at the sky. It was blue. The sun was warm. I said to myself, I will be okay. Now, I live alone. I make my own tea. I cook simple food. I go to work. I take care of myself. I do not feel lonely. I feel free. I do not cry at night. I sleep well. I smile when I want. I do not lie. I tell the truth. That is my new life. I do not hate Mark. I do not blame him. He tried his best, but we were not right for each other. I made a mistake, but from that mistake, I learned. I learned to listen to my heart. I learned to wait for real love. I learned to choose my peace. If someone feels like I did, I want to say, it is okay to make a mistake. It is okay to start again. Do not live in fear. Do not live with lies. Be honest. Be brave. You can make a new life.